I really like learning from the incidents that people run into. I mean, really, there, but for the grace of God, go I. So let's talk about Square's day-long outage in August. So what do we know? The issue started midday on the Thursday and lasted till Friday afternoon. That's a long time. During that time, Square merchants were unable to accept payments. And we know it's due to some combination of, quote, standard changes to their internal networking software preventing systems from properly communicating with each other, end quote. And then the last thing we know is that block shares closed 5% lower as a result of the outage, which is over $1 billion in market cap evaporated. So we don't know a lot, but let's talk about what we do know. The first thing is that the ability to accept payments is a tier 0 need for Square merchants. If Square is down, they're down. And so what that implies is that the communication response during an outage is critical. And having been a part of lots of incidents, I know that it becomes really easy to get hyper-focused on repairing things and focusing on that. But your customers need to know what's going on and where we are in the process. Second thing is it turns out that this outage was due to a DNS issue. Now, DNS, domain name service, seems simple. You give it a name, you get an IP address. But underneath the covers, it's hugely complex and super easy to misconfigure. You're modifying production without guardrails. And because of that, DNS issues are a leading cause of production issues. Minimally, one thing you can't do is batch changes together. You need to let the system settle, going from one rule change to the next. Now, look, I'm not a networking expert. I'd really love to hear in the comments how people who are experts deal with DNS. I do know a fair bit about resiliency, so that's sort of topic 3. It's really important to try to degrade rather than fail. Now, with DNS, the obvious answer to that is to cache DNS resolution. If I already know the IP address associated with the name, I should keep it around. And that works for most cases. It doesn't work if you're starting up. It doesn't work if things change underneath you, but it does help. Now, Square actually has cached DNS resolution. It's just that it's not the default and it's not available on all devices. And it has a lot of constraints. You can't sign out. You have to reconnect to the internet within 24 hours, and you're responsible for any expired, declined, or disputed transactions. By the way, it also doesn't work on iOS or Android. Now, those are pretty significant restrictions. I think, developers want to design systems that are consistent and accurate all the time, but that isn't the real world. In the real world, there's latency, there's errors, there's systems that are degraded or unavailable. And designing for resiliency at core is about dealing with failures, not the happy path for success. Now, personally, I think of Shoreline as a tier 0 system. If we're down, our customers can't really fix their other environments. So how do I deal with that? I try to ensure that there's a clean failover path whenever some component is down or whenever we are going to have unextended unavailability in some degraded mode, at least for single faults. That's challenging for components like DNS or key management systems or others, but it's necessary. Let's use the comments to discuss times you've had outages caused by DNS or BGP and the measures you've taken to reduce this vulnerability to your resiliency environment.